Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our meeting to select an appointed person for the position of state senator. I think before we get into any official business, even I need to add a note here from the ambulance center that the 6 spaces on the south side into this building are for EMTs, so if you have one of those cars, you might want to move that. Because they're on call, they have to swerve in here and come to a screeching halt and have a place to park. So if you park in one of those places, you might go out and take a look. So we have a small agenda here. We have a few procedural things we have to go through to initiate this meeting. One of them is to get each county board to come into session of their board for the purpose of doing this business. And there's a little bit of process involved with that. We'll go over here in a bit, but I think to begin with, we probably would ask you to rise, take off your hats, and we'll do the flag salute.
Do you have a card or anything?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I think we'll just do an introduction of all the county commissioners, and I'll move the microphone down here, let them introduce themselves and their county, so you know all the players. And you can convene your board at the same time.
I'm Ray Campbell, Commissioner, District 2, Okanagan County.
I'm Sheila Kennedy, Okanagan County Commissioner, District Number 1.
Jim Detro, Okanagan County Commissioner, District Number 3. And I'd entertain a motion to convene the board. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. We're in session.
My name is Alan French, County Commissioner for Spokane County, District 3.
Shelley O'Quinn, Spokane County District 2.
I'm Todd Melke, Spokane County Commissioner from District Number 1, currently serving as the chair, and so as of 1:10 on this day, I will call our meeting to order as well.
I'm Wes McCart, Stevens County Commissioner, District 1.
Alan Bashiel, District 2 Commissioner.
Steve Parker, District 3 County Commissioner, Stevens County.
We did this morning. For this special session, we'll consider our board convening to do business.
Karen Scoot, Ponderay County, District 1.
Mike Manus, Ponderay County, District 2.
Steve Kiss, Ponderay County, District 3.
Need a motion to convene. Been moved and seconded.
I'm Mike Blankenship, Perry County Commissioner, District 3.
Brian Danzel, Perry County Commissioner, District Number 2.
Brad Miller, Perry County District Commissioner Number 1, and as of 1:10 this afternoon, I called this into session.
I'll just get back here so fast. I think we know that we'd like to recognize some of our special guests here before we get started, and certainly the most important one, the man who's been in that position for 20 some odd years, Senator Bob Morton. So Bob, I know you're here somewhere. Thanks from all of us, Bob. know you don't want to give a speech, so we'll just rerun some of the good words you've said in the past through our minds. We also have Representative Shelley Short is present today. Representative Joel Kretz is here. We have Senator Mike Patton from Spokane County. Also have representatives from Representative Kathy McMorris's office here, Sheila and Mike, and oh, there they are. And before we get into any of the process, I'd like to ask Shelley and Joel to come up if you had some comments to make on this occasion. You're on the agenda to make some short remarks, so now we'll make you do that. One of the other deals we have here is to explain this process for this appointment. And I asked Commissioner Melke, since he's been through several of these, to give us an outline on the best way to do this. And I couldn't see anything wrong with anything he said, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thank you. I don't know if this is the best way, but this is the fourth legislative appointment process that I've sat through. The third one that involves multiple counties, which are a little bit more complex than if it's just a single county appointment. The last one of these that I participated in was to appoint a new legislator for the 9th legislative district, which also includes multiple counties. And the process that was undertaken by the county commissioners at that point is, first of all, there's really nothing defined in state statute or the Constitution about, specifically how the process works once we all get together. We do convene our meetings. We've all advertised those as public meetings, and we've done so. From there, when we met in Colfax, we asked, if there was a direction that the county commissioners wanted to go. And it was suggested at that time that we've all taken time out of our schedules. We blocked out this time block for a very important purpose, and that is to appoint a new state legislator, a new state senator for the 7th district. We determined that because we had all scheduled time, that we should do our due diligence. And so in Colfax, for the 9th district, what we suggested was that each of the candidates come to the front, that they be given approximately a 30-minute time block, not held really tightly, but maybe 10 minutes of that would be used for the purpose of the candidate presenting information about themselves and their background and why they wanted to be appointed. And the remaining amount of time would be utilized by the county commissioners to ask questions of the candidate. Of course, that's all an open public meeting. All the candidates were allowed in the room. And so we proceeded to go through each of the 3 candidates and go through that process. Once that process had ended, the county commissioners went into executive session to deliberate over the candidates. The law states that no decision can be made unless it's in a public meeting. So the commissioners came back out and assembled. At that point, the host county chair asked if there were any motions to be considered. At that point, one of the county commissioners made a motion of which candidate he or she thought would be the best. Made a motion, there was asked if there was a second, and then there was a roll call vote in which the names of each of the county commissioners present was called, and they voted aye or nay. If the person that was moved to receive the appointment received more than 50% of the votes, it was deemed to be completed. And I will back up. After the motion was made, there was a call to determine whether there were any comments that people wanted to make as well on the motion. So before the vote was taken. So that's how it was done. I think in the 9th district, it seemed to be pretty straightforward and again a deliberative process that did allow a fair amount of interaction between the county commissioners considering the candidates and the candidates that were seeking the appointment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now I'll turn it over. Excuse my froggy throat. I don't know what I did to get a cold, but it happens. Shelley Short.
I
Actually, I'm gonna turn it over to our most senior now legislator.
That was a short remark.
Well, I'm going to stay pretty short too. You guys got a lot of work to do, and I hope you get it done in about 20 minutes or so. Anyway, a lot of new faces up here, some really good friends. Congratulations to all the new ones, and appreciate you guys serving, and the ones I don't know, I guess will get appointed. You got a big decision here, and I just want to stress that in that this 7th district has been a team for a long time. You know, going back to Senator Barr, Steve Berman's here, I think. But I've watched some of the contingents from legislative districts, and they may all three be Republicans, and they hate each other's guts, and they never get anything done. You know, and it's just fight to fight. And we have always stuck together. Don't always vote the same, but we've always tried to be a team for the interests of the people of the 7th district, which is what it's all about. Just a couple little things I want to touch on for the upcoming session. Going to be looking to all of you on several things, and I really think that this block of counties through here, I've seen it work in the past very, very well. You know, some of you that have been around a while, Mike is back now, when we worked Cougar issues years ago, and you know, the whole partnership thing was what worked. You know, we've got 3 votes over there, but we've got county commissioners and the public coming in is what has really swung it a lot of the time. One of the things, I've got a wolf bill, we've got several wolf bills we're sorting out, who's going to run what and how we're going to approach that. I'm also bringing back a bill, caused a little stir at Monterey a few years ago, that would allow some of the smaller counties to opt out of GMA. And the way it's written right now, Barry and Monterey would be able to opt out. Stevens would be something that wouldn't fit. We can't get that big of a bite off at this time. If we can get a precedent, I think we've got a good chance. So it's not a prescriptive bill. It's something that just gives a choice to county commissioners. You know, they don't have to do anything. But those are a couple of things that I think that it's going to make a huge difference of you folks showing up over there, and then the people behind us showing up over there. So that's a couple of my priorities this year. I'm going to give you one piece of advice on your selection. You've got 3 really good people. I guess all I would say is just look at Bob Morton if you want the model, because you know, we have no certain. I think you guys have set the standard, you know, for integrity. I learned so much from him when I got there. What a kind person! Would just tell you anything, never any games. He even came over one time and said, you know, we kind of look at each other's votes, and we get a Senate bill, and we kind of look to see how your senator voted. He says, don't put anything into that. I'm doing crazy stuff this year, but you know, make up your own mind. But he would let you make your mistakes and always be gentle afterward. But to me, that's the model of a statesman. He always had the people, the 7th district, first in his heart, and that's what he went over there to represent. And so, as you're going through this, you know, that's the thing for me to keep in mind is who you're replacing. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, John. I was doing good until you talked that way. You know, I want to say the same thing. So proud of each and every one of you, and see so many new faces and friends. And, you know, we are all a team in trying to fight the overreach of the federal and state government. And we just see you as so important in the local fabric of your communities. I just can't say enough, and say thank you too for stepping up and doing this. We'll be there with you. It's not going to be easy, but look forward to working with each and every one of you. Just like to touch a little bit and echo what Joel had to say as far as the teamwork. It really has made a huge difference, and we have been effective over there. But on the issues, I too am working on some wolf legislation, but the one that I'm most proud of right now is just that a person be able to protect their life and property regardless of consequence, you know, without the fear of prosecution. I think whether or not we have wolves or any kind of critters here, we ought to be able to protect our life and property wherever that property is located. And I don't mean that just as a personal individual, I mean also as a commercial operation. That's going to be one of my legislative priorities. It's not going to be easy, but I think if we're going to be the only part of the state that has wolf management or wolf recovery, then they ought to allow us some options, and that's the way I'm going forward with this. The second one, and one that I know that you're all familiar with, is my peer review science bill. I'm going to be re-upping that. I was working on a draft of it today. I want to make sure the agencies know that we're watching the kind of information that they put out. They have fought it pretty handily, which tells me there's probably something there to that. And I'm not going to give up on it. I don't give up easily. So stay tuned for that. Third one is fish consumption. You're going to think about wondering why that has to do with anything, but it has a lot to do with local counties and cities and their water quality standards and discharge permits and all kinds of things. I'm already working with the chair of the committee, Dave Up the Grove. He's concerned for a variety of reasons. I don't care why he's concerned, I'm just glad he is. And so we're going to work together on some things that hopefully will set a little bit different path. And I know that's been a concern to each and every one of you. And so those are going to be my priorities. I think they're pretty big things for all of our counties and for our communities. So just again, thank you so much for serving, and just look forward to working with you in the coming legislative session.
Thank you, Joel and Shelley. On our agenda, the next part of our process is to choose a chairman for this meeting. And the chairman will just be responsible for directing the meeting, asking the candidates to come forward, stating some of the procedures as we go. So is there any?
I nominate Don.
Who said that? It's been moved and seconded that since I have the microphone, I should chair this meeting. So, is there any other nominations? I have to ask that 3 times. No. So, all in favor of having me continue to chair this?
Aye.
Nay? So it looks like I'm elected. Thanks. Thanks, Brad. So, without further ado, we'll get into the candidate introductions and statements. I'd like to thank the PCOs for giving us 3 names to in this pool to work from, and they spent a good day's work selecting through I think 9 or 10 potential candidates and give us 3 for our consideration, and those 3 are John Smith, Josh Kerns, and Doug Simpson. So at this time, we'll just have one candidate at a time come up, give an opening statement, and then be available for questions from this board. So I'll do this in alphabetical order, and I'll call Josh Kerns first.
Some of us were talking earlier, there's been a legal issue raised with regard to whether they have 3 nominees or whether we have 2 nominees and such. And I know that legal counsel for a number of the counties has spent some time addressing that. Should we address that for the benefit of the audience before we get started, and at least put that issue to rest?
Can you folks hear me?
I can do that. And I know Stevens County and Spokane County's assistant prosecutors discussed this, and I'm sure Al's been kind of at the front of that since you spoke up. I'll let you, from our county standpoint, or the chairman, I don't care. But from our standpoint, reading the process, the PCOs have to submit us 3 names, and they did that. So if anything changes after that, it doesn't really throw a monkey wrench in it as far as we could tell. But I'll let Todd give his letters and notes. Fortunately, I don't pack any letters and notes, so I don't have to look for them.
Okay, so there was an issue raised with regard to whether or not we are able to properly meet today, and whether we have 3 names before us. And I think this was an issue that was raised by Mr. Doug Clifford. I know legal counsel from a number of the counties have been on the phone, conferring and researching. And so in conferring with legal counsel from Spokane County, and I think in agreement with the other counties, it is clear, Article 2, Section 15, the state constitution does state that the vacancy shall be filled from a list of 3 nominees selected by the state central committee. And that process did take place. So they met on a Saturday and they came up with 3 names of candidates. There is nothing in either the state constitution or state law that provides a process for how somebody would withdraw from consideration. And so once those names have been submitted and the letter received from the party, then those are the names that are properly before us. Now, somebody can say, I've had second thoughts and I've decided not to pursue this, but that does not necessarily withdraw their name from consideration. Probably influences how any of the commissioners would vote, but does not literally withdraw them from the process. And so if someone is selected and then they choose not to either take the oath of office or sign the bond that's required, the document that's required, then a new vacancy is declared. And that is found in RCW 42-12-010, which is the state statute regarding when a vacancy in public office occurs. And in the last bullet point of that state statute, it talks about someone either failing to take their oath of office, either through neglect or purposely not taking their oath of office, and at that point, then a new vacancy would occur. And so, so with regard to the issue that was raised, I think our legal counsel from the counties has reached a consensus that 3 names were properly presented to this slate of county commissioners for consideration. And as each one is called up, again, I'm assuming in their comments they will tell us why they want to be considered or perhaps not considered, and that we would all take that into consideration as we move forward.
Thank you. Yes, you may.
We have not had a chance to discuss this fully as a 5-county board of commissioners. We have had some discussion within our board and then privately. I'd just like to give you the gist of the debate. The other side of the coin is that it very well fully seems to be entirely legal to move forward. The question is the law or the spirit, the letter of the law or the spirit of the law. And the opinions that have been rendered in other cases indicate that it's a preference for the commissioners do have 3 viable candidates. And so it's entirely within our jurisdiction to be able to move forward. And then the question is this the most prudent thing to do? So that's the debate that we've been in, that's the discussions that we've had, and the legal opinions do give the ability to move forward.
Thank you. Any other comments? I want to again thank all the commissioners for coming to Colville today for this very important meeting, but I'll turn it over to Josh Kerns.
Well, first off, thank you to everyone for being here, and also, once again, thank you to Senator Morton for his amazing 22 years of service, standing up for us and representing us in Olympia. Thank you. My name is Josh Kerns, and I'm seeking this appointment because I believe the people of the 7th District deserve a senator that will hold the line on taxes, will fight to make our state more business friendly and bring more jobs here, as well as being an action-oriented advocate for property rights. I am a lifelong Eastern Washington resident. I was born and raised in Meade, Washington. I went to Meade schools, and I received my bachelor's degree from Whitworth University in business administration, and received my master's in business administration from Whitworth as well. It was during my time in college that I got my first kind of experience in government when I interned in the legislative office for Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers. I'm a Republican precinct committee officer. I've been the treasurer of the Spokane County Republican Party I've been involved as the vice chair of the Young Republicans, as well as in 2010, in 2011, I was awarded the Volunteer of the Year by the County Republican Party for my work during the 2010 election cycle. In 2010, I was given the honor of serving as the campaign manager for Representative John Ahern. And that was a race that we were told that we couldn't win. We were said there was no chance we could pull that off. But with hard work and a conservative message, we did win. And in 2012, I was asked by Representative-elect Jeff Foley if I would manage his campaign. And once again, we were told that we couldn't win. There was no way we could pull it off. But once again, with a conservative message and hard work, we did win that. We won that 55% to 45% in a district that people said was a swing district, but again, that we wouldn't have been able to do it. I know how to win elections. I know it takes a grassroots effort. It takes hard work. You don't buy elections. In both of those elections that I referenced, we were out fundraised. We were out fundraised. We were outspent severely, but through hard work, grassroots, door to door, putting up the signs, going to the events, meeting people. You're able. I know how to pull it off. I know how to win a budget, even if it's on a shoestring. I'm a small business owner with my wife. We own a graphic design company. For the last 2 years, I've had the pleasure of working for State Representative John Ahern as his legislative assistant. So, I know the legislative process. I know how it works in Olympia. I've developed some amazing relationships over there on that campus, and I will be able to hit the ground running from day one, being an effective senator. And I hope I am able to live up to the long line that's been set by the fantastic legislators in the 7th, including Senator Morton and the two former legislative assistants that have gone on to also be legislators. That's Kathy McMorris and Shelley Short. We all know from the ocean to the Idaho border, unemployment is far too high in our state. We need jobs. We need to attract companies to come here. We need to create an environment that will allow businesses to thrive, will allow them to succeed. Some of the things that we can easily do to pick this off is we need to go after our workers' compensation system. We made some small steps forward with our structured settlements 2 sessions ago, but we've got miles left to go when it comes to our workers' comp system, and we need to eliminate the uncertainty that there is for businesses. That's one of the main things we hear. Why people aren't hiring is they don't know what's coming next. That they don't know what the legislature next is going to send their way. Whether it's going to be a tax, whether it's going to be another regulation, whether it's going to be just waiting longer on permitting processes. I don't just want to make Washington competitive. I want to make Washington the preference to when businesses are looking to relocate. They've only got one option, and that's Washington State. Because I want them to say, we're going to Washington because Washington wants jobs. Washington is ready. They've got a workforce. People are hungry for jobs to be able to get working. I'm a strong supporter of property rights. Being there in the legislature, working with Representative Ahern for 2 regular sessions and 5 special sessions. I've seen that, for lack of a better term, an outright war that the Department of Ecology has waged on farming and agriculture. And we all know that the statistics. 160,000 jobs are directly connected to farming and agriculture. Last year, it was $46 billion of economic activity. And that is huge. That is an industry that is working. And that is an industry that we need to promote. That is an industry that will put people to work and provide jobs. So, I will fight tooth and nail, but right beside Shelley Short, who has made a career out of being a thorn in the side of these agencies. And we are so lucky to have her as one of our representatives. And I'll be right there to back her up because she's the best at it. She is. So, it's no surprise to anybody in this room. Our state has had a little bit of a problem balancing their budgets over these last several decades. I'll commit to you today that I will only support budgets that are sustainable, that will allow us to get out of session on time, will not require us to come back for special session after special session to fix it. Those budgets must include no tax increases, positive reserves, and absolutely no gimmicks. Enough, kicking the can down the road, delaying a payment, 2 days so it can fall to another biennium. We need to get the structure of our budgets under control and get the job done. Not in a special session, not 2 years from now, not 3 years from now. If we have a problem, we have to get it solved today during regular session. And I understand, that the policy decisions over there have budgetary impacts. And that's one of the things that will also have to be considered with any piece of legislation is how is this going to affect the budget? Can we afford this? And that seems to be something that is kind of lost in Olympia these days. How are we going to pay for this legislation? And that's something that we must consider on every piece of legislation. Doing the people's business while living within the people's means has got to be one of the #1 jobs that we have over there. I'm not running just to get elected. I'm running to get things done, to lead, and to get results. I know one of the concerns that I've heard is my age. And yes, I'm 27 years old, but there's not many not many people by the time they're 27 are small business owners with their wives, have purchased a home, and have earned a master's degree. And I was able to do all those things by the time I was 26. So I think my experience and my background has prepared me for this seat. One of the other things that I hear so many people say is we've got to embrace the youth. We've got to bring the youth into our party. And I will be able to connect with the 20 and the 30-year-olds that we've kind of missed out on some of that. I can connect with them on their level. I'm not going to do it by moving to the left or adopting Democrat policies. I will connect with them by showing them how it's our conservative values, our conservative ideas for business growth, for budgets, for property rights, for education. It's our ideas that are going to move our state in the right direction, and it's those conservative ideas that are going to give people the opportunities that so many of us have had. The other thing, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know everything about every one of your counties. You guys are the experts on your counties. So when I'm over there in Olympia, I want to hear from you. If you guys have ideas for legislation, if you guys have ideas that will benefit your county or just state government or county government as a whole, I want to hear those ideas because you guys are the ones day in and day out that can see those things. And call me up on the phone. Come visit me. I'll come visit you guys on the weekends. I come home most weekends. If there's not floor action over there, I come home to see my wife. So I've got no problem with holding little town hall meetings every weekend, every other weekend, whatever fits in people's schedules. And I want to hear from you guys on your ideas, on what you'd like to see introduced in the legislature. If you're happy or upset with the direction it's going, I want to hear from you guys. There'd be two things that I ask of you if I get there is one, stay in contact. Help me if you guys see, if you guys have ideas for legislation, I want to hear it. And and most importantly, hold my feet to the fire. If there's something you don't think I'm doing right, I wanna hear from you. I want you to call me up and say, I don't think you took, this was a bad vote. I don't think you're looking at this the right way. Hold me accountable. I've seen far too many legislators run wild in Olympia because their constituents don't hold them accountable. So please, make me accountable. I want to hear from you. Stay in contact. So, and if you join me on this, we'll work together. We'll be a team and we'll chart a new course for Washington. Thank you.
And anyone with any questions for Mr. Kerns, I'll give you, I might have known the other 27-year-old would have a question.
29, first of all, thank you very much for being here today. I've got a question on, I've got a couple of questions actually. You mentioned the budget and you also mentioned farm and ag. In Perry County, there's been some pretty bad environmental extremism, specifically with the budget and supporting farm, ag, timber, ranching. Specifically, what would you do as a senator that would improve that situation? And the second part of the question, which is kind of related, I've seen a lot of times that there's bills that are introduced in the legislature where sometimes it would benefit county government, but it would be at the sake of the people. So your loyalties lie with county government or the people, and specifically what I'm talking about there, sometimes there's bills that are motion in the legislature to try and allow county government to tax the people rather than just making a cut. So would you be more loyal to county government?
When the first part of your question about about farming and agriculture, there are so many bills that come through there that are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, honestly, that's the best way to describe it. One of the bills that came through, I think it was last session, wanted to apply these buffer zones to spray pesticides. I mean, and it was something where they wanted like a mile from any stream, a mile from anybody that could be outdoors, a mile from any home. The thing that I can promise you is that when it's legislation that comes through like that, that would harm the agriculture industry, I will be a no vote on that legislation. And the second part of your problem when it comes to county government, there have been some bills that have been introduced. Some of them had to do with public records requests. That was one that came through that would have saved the county's money, because there have been some people that have been abusing that system. There were stories of individuals that were in jail, and they would just they were making just piles and piles of money off of from the counties, off of fines, by saying, well, I want this document, I want this document, and this document, and there's just no way that the county could get through and deliver those on time. So that the county wanted to tighten up the associate. I think it came from the Association of Counties, wanted to tighten up the restrictions on that. But in all honesty, I mean, public records requests are there for the public, and that's something that yes, it would have helped counties, but at the same time, there's a lot of law-abiding citizens with good intentions that would have harmed. So I side with the people of the district when it comes to that.
And we don't have much of a time limit imposed on ourselves, so any more questions? I know there's a lot more.
A couple of questions, thank you. So first of all, can you go a little bit more into, I don't know a lot about your business, I don't know if you have employees, and maybe about your employment history. I know you touched on your experience on staff in the legislature. So that's the first question. Second question is, you would be appointed to a Senate at a time when Republicans technically don't have a majority, but have built a coalition that is very sensitive to two crossover votes to hold that coalition together. And so some speculate that to get through this process, there may be a little more give and take than what a Republican caucus would normally accept, to keep that coalition together and not be, I guess, trounced back into the minority. So the question is how much give and take are you willing to do to keep that coalition together versus items of principle?
Yeah, no, the first part of your question, the business that I own, it's been for, I want to say, about 13, 14 months now. I own a small marketing firm with my wife, primarily graphic design work. We're registered with Secretary of State. Actually, last night I filed my unemployed or the workers' comp, filed online quarterlies with L&I. No, we do not have any employees right now. The reason we do file with L&I, just if I can stray a little bit here, my wife and I started the company about 3 or 4 months before we got married. So we were engaged at the time, and when I filed with Secretary of State, got the business license, filed the Department of Revenue, then Labor and Industries comes calling and asking, do you have any employees? And no, I don't have any employees. It's my fiance and I. And then they're like, your fiance? And like, yeah. And they're like, oh, so you're not married then? I said, well, no, we'll be getting married in about 4 months. And then, well, does she work for you? Well, no. I mean, once we get married, she'll be, part owner. So, but we're working on it together. So she'll be assisting you with it, but and so and then it's like, okay, I know where they're going on. And so I had to track her hours that she helped me with the company for those 4 months, and actually had to pay workers' comp for her, even though she wasn't drawing a salary. It's not. I mean, it's these kind of things that are, it's like our agencies in the state have developed a culture or just the mindset that they can make more money to go out and find people rather than be more service oriented and helping businesses thrive. So, so the long answer to this, but yes, we own a marketing company, primarily graphic design work. 13 or 14 months we've been operating. So, with the coalition, I think it's one of the silver linings that we have right now in the legislature. The biggest bonus that I see to it is that we will have control of Ways and Means. We have a Republican chair on Ways and Means. We will write the budget, and I think Republicans as a whole, for all across the state, and including the 2 Democrats, I think are all on the same page. We have to get spending under control, and I think that's the focus of this, is working, passing pro-job legislation, working on the budget, and education. And I don't see in those, in those. I mean, everything that I've heard that has come out. I'll admit, I haven't been in the private meeting setting this up. But from everything that I've heard and that I have seen, there wouldn't be an instance where we would have to compromise our values to go along with that. But when it comes right down to it, the promises that I make, to the people of the district that I will stand for, I will not waver on those principles.
Well, you make a guy think about things. My employee and I are not married either, but when I left this morning, I just told her to stay on the porch, and I filled up her dog food dish. Commissioner French.
That's good.
Thank you. 2 questions for you. As the legislature wrestles with Cleary decision and trying to balance the budget, if they follow the course that past legislators have taken, there'll be a number of mandates that they'll push down on the cities and counties. And unfunded mandates then just put pressure on what would be already tight budgets for counties in particular. And we are the administrative arm for the state. We operate the treasurer's office, the assessor's office, the auditor's office. I mean, without counties, the state doesn't function. But when you rob revenue from counties with unfunded mandates, that also hampers our ability to deliver services. So if you, my assumption is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that you're not going to be supporting unfunded mandates. So that means something else has to fall off the table to be able to balance the budget and not raise taxes. So what is it that you propose to fall off the table so that we can get the budget balanced and continue to function as a state? That's one question. And then the second question is, Spokane County already enjoys a number of legislators representing the interest of Spokane County over in Olympia. So why, explain to the other county commissioners why somebody from Spokane County would be a good choice for representing the 7th district over in Olympia.
The first question, I've heard all about the unfunded mandates from the outgoing president of the Association of Washington Cities. I've spoken with length with her about that, and I understand that puts pressures on your guys' budgets. When the government, when the state government decides that you have to do this, you have to do this, this, and this, which are new, and we're not going to give you a dime to pay for it. Figure it out. I will be a no vote when those pieces of legislation come to the floor for a vote. Another part of that is showing that and I don't know what the makeup of the entire Republican Senate, whether they have a tradition of supporting those. I would assume that they would not, and so hopefully, a lot of those don't make it through with this new coalition. With the things that fall off the budget, I'm not so much concerned with what we cut, but with what we protect. What we're able to follow through with. Our state constitution says that our paramount duty is education. There's actually a piece of legislation that's been introduced in the House for, I want to say the last five or six sessions, where because our state constitution spells that out as the paramount duty, let's fund that first. Let's decide, figure out what that dollar amount is that education needs, and fund it. And then we prioritize everything else behind it. Whether that's public safety, protecting the most vulnerable, our transportation, our higher education. Put the rest in line behind it, and fund it that way. We need to have we need to prioritize our budget, and instead of just having this, education has turned into essentially a political football. I mean, if you're going to cut anything, well, you're against education then. Well, we need to fund that. Oh, well, that means you're against education. Then let's figure out education, take care of it, and now it's off the table, it's taken care of, and then prioritize everything else behind it. Because everybody comes out and nobody wants their budget cut. So, but you know what? Then let's prioritize on what we can do with that. The second question, I am from Spokane County. I live in Meade, Washington, and the fact of the matter is, I have made the promise that if I am elected, I will represent everybody in the district. Like I said, I don't know every single issue in each of your counties, but you guys do. And I will be there, to listen to you, to listen to your ideas. You guys are the experts. So, I'm there. It's if I'm sworn in, I take an oath to the state constitution and the Washington state, or the U.S. Constitution and the Washington state constitution, and I'm making a promise that I will represent every single citizen within that district. And Spokane County actually represents 40% of the population now of the 7th district after redistricting. And the other number that's kind of kind of mind-boggling is, until January 14th, when the new legislature is sworn in and the new lines actually take effect, 25% of what will be the 7th is currently in the 6th district. So, I mean, there's a huge chunk of the people that I know very well. I've interacted with them, having working with Representative Ahern. I have relationships, whether it's through, contact through the legislature, whether it's doorbelling during campaigns. And, I look forward to getting up here, doorbelling in as much as I can up here, showing up to as many community events as I can, and hearing your guys' concerns and going over there and representing you. And that is a promise that I will make to you.
Anyone else with a question? Commissioner Petro.
Thank you, Don. There's been some pointed questions here about unfunded mandates. Excuse me. Personally, I think that we collect the tax, we should be able to pay the unfunded mandates with the tax we collect and send you guys what's left over. But a huge concern of mine is Okanagan County is the largest county in the state, fewest population-wise, and we have an epidemic over the last 3 generations of fee acquisition from agencies like WDFW, NGOs. 40 years ago, there were 75,000 head of mother cows in Okanagan County. Today, there's 10,000. A cow-calf pair represents $4,500 to the local economy as that money circulates in the local economy per year. So you take 65,000 head of mother cows times $4,500, and you can see the economic impact of what it does to our county. So my question to you is, where do you stand on fee acquisition of these huge ranches and private property as it relates to the county and eroding our tax base?
As I said earlier, when it comes to farming and agriculture, whatever allows you guys to thrive, and that's whether it's ranchers, orchardists, farmers, anything, I'm on your guys' side. When it comes to fees that are assessed, I don't support that. I don't think that that's a good way for our government to especially at the state level, to circumvent, the 2/3 to raise taxes. That there's all these fees, and with these. The acquisition is in reference to buying private property. Okay. Yeah. I thought you were there. Yeah, no, and I know, in Okanagan County, 85% is government-owned land, correct? The thing is, our state government continues to buy up land, in almost every budget cycle. I think, when we were facing one of our biggest deficits, close to $9 billion, they bought, I think it's called Kickett Island, over on the west side of the state. It was $10 million, when we're facing a deficit of around $9 billion. It's almost like our government, a good analogy is almost like, you own a home that's going into foreclosure, so you decide to buy the property next door and put a shed on it, kind of. And our government, our state government, must quit buying land because we can't afford it. For one, that should be the first kind of basic thing. We don't have the money to continue to buy this up, and every time they do buy that, that does take that out of the private sector. You no longer have the property tax. It's not there for the tax base. So no, I am a strong supporter of the government, ceasing purchasing land and honestly selling more back, putting some more out there into the private sector and allowing them to allowing it to generate money for our economy. When you take it out of the public sector, it doesn't do us any good. And the government certainly isn't the best stewards of the land. There's an individual, Steve Hammond, who is the founder of the CAPER, Citizens Alliance for Property Rights. One of the things that I've heard him say several times is he says, when any of the environmentalists want to talk about the government, the government can manage the land much better than private citizens. He says, well, I'll make a bet with you. I'll give you a quarter for every weed that you can find growing on private property if you give me a nickel for every weed that I can find growing on government land. And he says, like, to this day, none of them have ever taken him up on that. Because the truth of the matter is, private property owners care for their land a whole lot better than government does. And if the state government is able to unload some of this land, they can get the revenue from selling it, but also they don't have to pay to maintain it anymore. So I mean, it goes back onto the, into the public, or into the private sector, being able to generate some economic activity. And so it's a win-win for everybody in my mind, even though there are people that would disagree with us on that. So, but no, I'm a strong supporter of the government ceasing the purchasing of land.
Thanks, Jim. I didn't know it was that serious in Okanagan County. I don't know how you're gonna feed your allocation of wolves that we're sending to you with that few cows. So. So, more questions from the panel of commissioners? I know you've got some.
Josh, I'd just like to say thank you for the effort that you put in. I know it takes a lot of time and commitment, and know the recent experience, so I appreciate you being here today. One question that has been paramount in my mind, and I know a lot of people have talked about, is that as Senator Morton retires and ends his 20 years, this puts the 7th district seat in play for upcoming elections. It's not just being selected by this committee. There'll be 2 more elections back to back that need to be run. You talked about your willingness and ability to doorbell and fundraise and your experience with campaigns. The one question, and it was asked of me when I ran, is in terms of the ability to be elected to this position, because it could be contested to a considerable degree as a chance for to change hands. Something that, as commissioners, we need to take into serious consideration. So, are you able? My question is this: are you able to absolutely satisfy this committee that in your background, in your past, is there anything that would keep you from being elected? And it is to make the skeleton in the closet, because we all have to take a look at that and say, is there something that could, if it came out, be damaging to my ability to be reelected? That's an important consideration.
No, there's nothing in my background. I mean, the Spokane County ran the background checks.
If I could just intercede a little bit. So one of the things that we do as part of our process, and I hope can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah.
Is every time we go through an appointment process, we do a criminal background check of any of the candidates, just as like if they were going to come to work for us in our sheriff's office. So we do the same standard Washington State Patrol background check. We have asked all the candidates for their permission to proceed with that. We did proceed with that. We have not been informed of any reason to believe there's a problem with any of those backgrounds. So just to share that information.
In my business, I mean, there's no lawsuits out there, nothing like that. I don't come with any baggage. I guess is the kind of plain and simple way to put it.
And it comes to
Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner McCarthy.
You know, I've heard you say a lot of great things about things that need to be done for the state, Spokane, Meade area. I haven't really heard you talk about the 7th district. Now, you can skip Colville because you're here today, but I want to hear from you how much you travel to 7 and what you see as being the character of the 7th district.
I think that the character of the 7th district, after redistricting, is actually substantially different than it was, say, in the 2010 election. The numbers that I had said earlier, 25% is coming from the 6th district. Lincoln County is completely out of the 7th district now. Yes, I spent the bulk of my time in the Spokane County portion, and I've spoken to that. When it comes to Ponderay, in Ponderay and Ferry County, I mean, the agriculture is huge there. And I think I have driven home the fact that yes, I will be a strong supporter of agriculture. When it comes to when you move over, you told me to avoid Colville in Stevens County here, but I mean, also with Okanagan, there are different issues that affect all of them. But honestly, I think the one thing that combines every county across the entire state is jobs in the economy. I mean, people, unemployment is far too high, and being able to focus and pass legislation that allows our entrepreneurs, allows our business owners and people to do what they do best and put people back to work. That's the one thing that I think is the bond through the entire district. Honestly, in my mind, that there are several different lifestyles, I guess you could say, or cultures within the 7th district. There is the agriculture industry that that there is a large suburban lifestyle in the 7th district now. So I mean, and that there is a balance there, but in all honesty, I will be there to represent conservative values, through hard work, and that's what I will be there to do. Yeah, I'm from Spokane, but that doesn't mean that I can't cast the appropriate vote. Because in all honesty, most of the bills that I've seen that come through that would benefit these northern counties, they benefit Spokane County, they benefit Lincoln County, they benefit Whatcom County on the other side. It's and I will be there to vote for those conservative bills and stand up for the conservative principles of the 7th district. Thank you.
Commissioner Kennedy from Okanagan.
Josh, I just have a question. I ran for county commissioner because I want to hold our state and federal agencies accountable. It's part of my desire to make sure that the DNR manages our forests, our Forest Service manages their forests, and I believe with logging, timber management, land management, we can get people back to work. My question to you is, do you have the fight? Whether we make a change or not, do you have the fight to go to those agencies and push that on our behalf?
Yeah, I do have the fight in me. Honestly, like I said earlier, I won't be doing it alone. Like Representative Kretz said, the 7th district works as a team, and I will be there as a member of that team. And honestly, I think that team extends, to all the county commissioners, to all the county elected level officials, to all the municipal level elected officials. We'll work as a team, and we will go to those agencies. When it comes to logging and timber, I think one of the most outrageous things about that is, workers' comp is around $19 an hour. Yeah, I mean So I mean, it's not just DNR. We gotta combat the other side of it too. That on why it's so costly to get in there and and log. But no, I have no problem going and button heads with Peter Goldmark over there at the Lands Commissioner office. And I'll tell you, it will be a tough fight. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, if it were up to him, he wouldn't allow a single tree in the state to be cut down. But but yes, I am up for that fight, and I will go in there. I hope I hope I'm working with a team here. Then we'll all go in there together, and we'll do it together.
Commissioner Blankenship from Ferry County.
Josh, some of the numbers you quoted is kind of scared the living daylights out of me. You said that 40% of the 7th district is going to be in Spokane County. So my fear is how are you going to legislate for Ferry County? We're 100 miles from anywhere when it comes to the brass tacks, and you're talking jobs. I got to be a little bit afraid, how are you going to leave and bring jobs to Republic when 40% of your constituents are in Spokane County, and Ferry County only represents 3.5 per square mile in its county. How are you going to balance that? How are you going to make sure that Ferry County gets what it needs? So I'd like to hear that.
Yep. It all comes down, like I said to Commissioner McCart, the policies and the votes that I will take, in my mind, benefit everyone. They benefit across the state. When it comes to making our state business friendly, I know that's a term that that everybody uses, but when we're able to maybe introduce some competition in our workers' comp system, that will benefit everybody. That will allow businesses in Republic, and all throughout Ferry County. That will essentially mean their bottom line is better now. They won't have to pay the high rates on L&I. So I mean, I like I said, I will be there to represent and vote conservatively, and be the strong voice for conservative values. And in my mind, that will benefit everybody, not just a portion of the district, not just a portion of the state, but in my mind, our conservative values will benefit everybody across the entire state. I mean, if I'm missing something, please help me out. If I'm not hitting your question, please let me know. Thank you.
Commissioner Manlis from Pendorelli County.
You'll get it right next time. Josh, good to see you here today. My question is about, you've talked about unemployment being one of the biggest things that faces all of us across the state. And you've spoken about L&I rates. Can you give me some other specifics, or give us some other specifics on what you're going to be able to do as a state senator to help us employ people?
And I'll be honest, the ideas I'm throwing out, they're not necessarily my ideas. I mean, these are ideas that have been introduced, and I will be one more vote there to support these. Some of them have been when it comes to businesses or permitting, putting a cap on the length of time that that it takes to get a permit from the state. Whether it's 30 or 60 or 90 days. But we have people that are, for their businesses putting in a permit, and they're waiting twice that long. And that those are the things that if we can shrink those up, those times that people are waiting for permits, that will help spur economic growth. One of the other ideas that that's been put out there is. Representative Kretz had mentioned the threshold for Growth Management Act, on population. Another one that I've seen out there is if the county has unemployment rates 7% or higher for 3 consecutive quarters, they would be able to opt out of GMA. Those are some other ideas that I think would spur economic growth and be able to get things moving. Because in all honesty, every county is different, but these are ideas that I think can benefit all counties and help people get back to work.
Anyone else have a pop quiz question for Josh? Okay, you get a second question.
Josh, just really quickly, are you familiar with 2 terms, Agenda 21?
Yes.
Coordination.
Yes and yes were his answers.
Yes, I am familiar with that, absolutely.
Any others? I guess I'd like to just ask one. I kind of think of the WWW in this county, and that's kind of the top of the list the last couple of years, and I think maybe always, but there's some interface with the state, but then some that's directed from the federal government on these issues, and sometimes it's hard to sort it out. I think that's where here in this county and in the northern tier counties especially, when we have proposals for wilderness areas, wolves that, are put on us, and then I always think water is an issue. We have a lot of water, but it seems like we can't be allocated a molecule of it without, some sort of loan permitting or permission system. So kind of tell me what you think the interface between the state, let's take it beyond the county deal, where you get to the state and then you have to interact with the feds maybe on some planning in those type of areas, because Washington does have a wilderness bill that was passed, so I assume you would have some input on some of that if they wanted to declare some of the Colville National Forest or the Okanagan into some more additional wilderness. So any of those subjects.
We continue to see it. It's usually comes from people on the other side of the state. Think that the wilderness land needs to expand, and that there is the federal aspect to it that you addressed there. It is difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. It is difficult to, when the federal government decides, that they're going to implement something, in the state. But, one of the strongest weapons that I think, we have is when you have, a coalition of all the elected officials in the area that can band together and work together for what will benefit, the region. That'll mean, the 7th district delegation, the county commissioners through the 7th district, the congresswoman. It's a long shot, but if we can get one of our U.S. senators on board, if we're able to band together, those are how we can combat these negative things that are pushed onto our areas.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Gwen from Spokane.
So speaking of banding together, where do you stand on the north-south corridor and its completion? And it's going to take, I would say, the work of all of Eastern Washington legislators to get the north-south corridor completed. So where do you stand on that?
In my mind, the north-south corridor is vital to transportation in all of Eastern Washington. And actually, I believe all of the portions that are complete are actually in the 7th district. And the next phase of it to get it to Francis Avenue, actually, which parallels Market Street, is also in the 7th district. There's a strange little finger that reaches down, kind of parallels Market, and goes all the way to Francis Avenue up the 7th district. That is the north-south corridor is something that I think is vital to getting freight, from the northern counties, even from Canada, moving things through eastern Washington, being able to come down either 395 or Highway 2, and being able to hop on the on-ramp and hop on, to the north-south corridor. And I think I've heard numbers of, if you go down Division Street in Spokane, through the 6th, through the 3rd District, to get to the freeway, it's like 28 stoplights. What's that? 29. But I mean, being able to have our freight, no matter what we're shipping through here, being able to hop on to and avoid 29 stoplights, and I mean, cut down a trip that could take, depending on traffic, as long as 45 minutes, being able to cut it down to 10 minutes.
Would you advocate to have that funding in the transportation package?
I would absolutely advocate for the north-south freeway. I heard this was maybe 6 months ago that that there were several transportation projects over the years from previous budgets where they found leftover money. I've heard things as high as $4 billion that was allocated for transportation that either came from projects that came under budget, projects that just weren't completed, but the money's sitting there. In my mind, the money is there for the north-south freeway, and I will absolutely advocate for that being the number one transportation issue, because in my mind, it is vital to Eastern Washington and to our state being able to cut down on that traffic time. Hitting all those stoplights, being able to hop on, boom, you're to I-90, you're right out to our ports, in a matter of hours.
Here we go, Commissioner Campbell from Okanagan County.
Yeah, I got a question. Well, first of all, statement here, Okanagan County, I guess, or like a lot of the counties around here, have been hit by every major species that come across the border or swim or whatever to get here. But, of course, the wolf issue is a big issue in our county also. I know Okanagan County, we're still on the state endangered species list. I understand that maybe the rest of the county, the state's not. But anyway, we also have our salmon steelhead are listed throughout the state. And there's a big effort going on in our county there called the Governor's Salmon Recovery effort there. And it's been claimed as supporting a lot of local jobs by the money that comes into the Governor's Salmon Recovery efforts. Are you familiar with that? Wendy, have you heard anything about this? Are you familiar with that? And what would your position be on addressing that?
I will admit, I'm not extremely well versed. My knowledge base on that is very low. But I am familiar with the Endangered Species Act, and in my mind, there are a lot of animals on that shouldn't be on that. When it comes to the steelhead in Okanagan, I honestly think it's got to come down to is what impact is this having on the local economy? If this is putting people out of jobs, because they can't earn their livelihood, I mean, in my mind, that means more, than somebody in the environmentalist movement would probably think. So, I mean, if it's policy that's killing jobs and destroying people's livelihood, then I would be opposed to it.
Oh, good. Commissioner Kiss gives me a chance to pronounce Ponderay County in its correct form.
Yes, as you know, or you should know, in the northern tier here, mining is also an industry that has been here historically and has employed a lot of people. I'd like to know what your stand would be. The DOE has big impact on the mining industry and the permitting process, and, you know, sometimes in mining, to hit the market at the right time is essential. And if we say, well, it's going to be 5 years before you get a permit, well, that may just take you out of the picture. I'd just like to know how you would address the heavy-handedness of the DOE and other permitting agencies.
You know, no, I'm familiar with you know, with like the Buckhorn site. I mean, it's been like 30 years, I think, was what I was hearing. You know, that they've been trying to open that up. I mean, you know, mining is I mean, that's a big money business. A very good friend of mine sells to the mines. You know, he sells equipment, fasteners, all, you know, whatever they need, he supplies us. I mean, I am familiar with the mining industry, and you know, it's become, you know, over the years has become increasingly more and more difficult to get permitting, and, you know, to have the ability to pull out, you know, to pull out the what you're mining for, you know, whether it's gold or silver. And you know, you're absolutely correct on hitting the market, you know, at the right time. I mean, you know, look at gold prices 5 years ago and look at them now. I mean, you know, this is the time that we need to be pulling that out here. And so no, I am an absolute supporter of the mining industry. And if there's anything that I can do to, you know, to help shuttle along a permit, I'm there to do it. I mean, because again, you know, that's another industry that can put people to work and provide good paying jobs. And that is what, that is the focus that Olympia has forgotten about. You know, everyone gives it lip service, but it's like, you know what? That is what we have to get down to business with. So no, I am absolutely for, again, shortening up these permitting times and allowing businesses to get working.
And Commissioner Scoot from Pomeroy County.
Are you familiar with nullification, and if so, how would you use it?
You know, I am familiar with it. There's been several states, you know, across the country that, you know, sort of the one that's been passed more than anything is, you know, nullification for Obamacare. You know, the legislation's already been drafted in our state. You know, it's been modeled after other states. I bet you 100% that it'll be introduced in the House. I'm sure Representative Shea will run that bill. You know, but no, it acts as a tool to be able to, you know, to show the government, the federal government, that no, you don't control us. You know, you don't tell us, you know, what we can and can't do. You know, and so no, nullification is a very important tool. And yes, no, I am familiar with the process, and, you know, for many of these things that have been that are sort of the focal point of nullification, the legislation's already drafted, and yeah, I'd be a supporter of it, absolutely.
Any more questions? I think if not, we'll release you, but we'll reserve the right to call on you again today.